may have some others join us, but I'll just get going because we want to hear from all of our fabulous early career women. So my name's Cindy. It's great to have you all in the room. And this is our speed mentoring session. And we're delighted that we've got some early career women who are going to talk a little bit about their career experiences and their journey in getting there. So what we're going to do is have each of the 5 people that we've got on our list here to speak for 3 minutes each. I am going to try and keep you to time, so apologies in advance if I kind of interrupt you and say, oh, can you stop now? Just because we want to hear from everyone. And what we'll do then as well is we'll be able to turn over to the chat. So do start typing some questions in if anybody has those as we go through all 5 of our wonderful, fabulous ladies who are with us here today. And I am going to start us off with Maureen Campos, please.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Maureen. I'm French, as you will probably understand when I speak. I work for Doc Martens as a real estate asset manager. So basically what we do in real estate is that we manage store openings, store closings, and we can also decide to maybe relocate a store in a street where we will have more clients. What I really like about that job is that I get to work with very different people, from lawyers to people from construction, from finance. But to be honest, I think one of my favorite things to work at Doc Martens is I can get cheaper shoes. So it's really a win, definitely. I haven't always worked in real estate. When I was your age, actually, I wanted to be a ballet dancer. I was in a ballet company and I was having about 10 hours classes, 10, 12 hours classes per week. But I had a very low self-esteem. I really thought I would never manage to do anything. So when I reached 18, I decided to study economics just because my friends were doing that. And but I really didn't have a clue of what I wanted to do. No career support as well. So yeah, that was just my choice, which was definitely a bad choice. The good choice I made, though, is to go study in the US. And I went to a university in Los Angeles. And I think that was the start of really taking my life into my own hands. I then worked in France, in the US, and in Switzerland in private banking. And a few years ago, when I was almost 40, I would say, I realized finance was maybe not what made me really happy. So I have 2 kids, and I started to do a master's degree in real estate. So definitely there's no age to, you can always change your mind in the way. It's absolutely not an issue. And I got my master's degree in real estate, and now I can work as a real estate asset manager for Doc Martens, which is great. I would say, I mean, one lesson really that I've learned during all this path is that you should definitely cultivate your difference, your uniqueness, because for me, it was working abroad, studying abroad, and that has always made a difference in whenever I was looking for a job or whenever I needed to get the interest of people. And for you, it can be anything, really. You don't have to go to on the other side of the world. It can be maybe you like creating jewelry, maybe you like volunteering. It can really be anything that you like, that you're passionate about. I think it will always be the difference between you and the others whenever people will have to choose between you and others for some jobs or training or anything. So I would definitely recommend for you to cultivate your uniqueness, because it will always be the difference, definitely.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maureen. And that is so important, the whole idea of cultivating your difference and your uniqueness. So thank you for that. We're going to move right on to Jasmine Smith. And please do feel free, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got questions or thoughts to share, we'll turn to the chat box once we're working through all of the different individuals. So next over to Jasmine Smith. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jasmine and I'm working as a apprentice at Accenture currently. So I am working as well to do a digital and technology solutions degree within the apprenticeship. And my current role is on a marketing role. So I am creating content and material for the client and raising awareness and organising awareness sessions for the client. So in this, for me personally, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I'm still very at the early stages of my career. I'm only 19, so still very young, and have only recently started my career path. So for me, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. So it was not a choice that I've known for a while, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go to university myself. So to choose and look at other options, I decided to go for the degree apprenticeship, and it's been a really great start and has allowed me to look at different role opportunities and to explore different areas within ICT. So it's been a real great first initial step into the working world, and has allowed me to meet new people, work with companies abroad and globally. And obviously with the current circumstances, it's been a real challenge to work from home. I started working from home straight away. So it has been quite different to what I thought I was going to be starting my first career as. But it's been real insightful, and what I've taken away from it, especially as only just starting my career, and I wasn't obviously 13, 14, I was still in my teenage years anyway, but I have recently finished school. So just to know that it doesn't matter if you don't have a specific career path in line. I know a lot of my friends sort of did have maybe a career path that they wanted to go for, and I was for a while still thinking I've got no idea, but yeah, to just obviously see how your path falls, and that you've just got to learn and focus how you grow and just grow into yourself, because it's been quite obviously being quite shy at start, and to then be in a company where I've been having to deal with clients from all around, it has been a real learning curve, but really good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That's great. And it's really good to know that you don't have to have your entire career marked out in front of you when you are still at a point where you have the opportunity to experiment. So that really, I think, reinforces as well what Maureen was saying with all of the different careers she's had. So let's move over to Elizabeth Joseph now. Elizabeth, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth, and it's great to speak with you all today. So I'm an environmental engineer. What's all that about? It's pretty much looking at ways that we can stop destroying the environment and reduce the impact of climate change. So on one of my days, I might be looking at how much air pollution is coming from ships in the sea. On another day, I might be finding ways that we can reduce plastics. On another day, looking at how we can stop oil spills. And I think, yeah, environmental engineering or any type of engineering is really exciting. I've had some really amazing highlights for me. One was having a barbecue on the helipad of an oil and gas platform in the middle of the North Sea. I've sailed on an LNG tanker through the Suez Canal in Egypt. And I've also organised a conference to support women seafarers. They only make up 2% of all the seafarers in the world. So if you are thinking about engineering as a field, I think it's really interesting to get into. It's fun, rewarding, and diverse. But when I think back when I was your age, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something where I could stop pollution, I could help people, travel a bit. So it took me a while, I'd say probably at least 2 years to kind of make that decision that I wanted to do environmental engineering, although no one in my family was an engineer. So I didn't have much to go on for advice. My dad actually helped me in a way because he knew a few people he traveled on the bus to work with. And they were engineers, so I was able to speak with them to get some ideas about what engineering as a profession could involve. I found that useful because, you know, what you learn at school or at university is going to be very different to when you're working. And also around the same time, I was told by a career advisor I should not study engineering as I'm not good at maths. So actually, when I got to university, I became really good at maths. So I think when you get into a course or field or job that you enjoy, you will naturally become good at it, no matter how challenging the subjects are. So the way I look at it is, don't see it as an obstacle, see it as an opportunity. Thanks.
Wow, thank you so much, Elizabeth. That really reinforced, I suppose, the importance of keeping open to options. Speaking to people in the field, I think, is a really good hint. And maybe that's something we can explore further as well, because the reality of working in an area is very different, like you said, from just learning about it kind of theoretically. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was great. We're now going to move on to Amy Dick from across the pond.
Hi, everyone. Really lovely to spend this morning speaking with you. So I am an entrepreneur, and I also work as in branding as a marketing director and also exec producer. So what that means is that I get to work with very interesting brands all over the world, like, let's say, Nike or Disney or Netflix, to really help them tell great stories about their products and their services. And those stories end up being, let's say, films that you might watch. It might be advertising that you might see on screens when you're on the underground, or it might actually be an experience that you have, or even a concert that you end up going to. Now, I didn't quite know when I was your age that this is an area that I was going to end up in at all. But what I did know is that I absolutely love storytelling, and that how that came to me was at 13, I used to just love writing. I would write a lot, I would make music, and that was very much a love of mine. And I really enjoyed collaborating with other people and other musicians and artists to create artful work like that. And so it was very natural for me to gravitate to that sort of area. At the same time, I always had a real sort of kind of curiosity for business. And so I was keen to learn how I could kind of develop myself in those areas. I studied business management at university, and I guess that brought things together for me. When I was considering the route I would take in terms of the jobs that I would enter, I decided before starting university, I would go and gain lots of work experience at different companies within the creative industries. And so I managed to convince my parents to allow me to spend a whole year working in television and radio and fashion, just doing lots of different types of roles that allowed me to see what work could be like in that field. And so I would really encourage that kind of curiosity and really leaning into the things that you really find interesting and that you just naturally very much love, because that's when I think a path can open up for you and you can see the steps that you can take.
Wow, thank you. That's yet another exciting story. And I think there's some questions coming up that we can start to draw on some of that as well when we get into our group discussion. So thank you very much, Amy. Our final speaker in our speed mentoring is Dina Al-Alami from Compass Pathways. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to talk to you today. I'm very happy to share my story, as it was a very much trial and error throughout since when I started university. So when I was in school, I loved math and I was good at math, and that's the only thing I liked. And I said I wanted to be a mathematician. Everybody was like, no, if you do math, then you'll only be a math teacher. Didn't want to be a math teacher, but I still liked math. But because everybody older than me was telling me not to, I didn't. And what I ended up doing is just following my dad's footsteps, and he studied civil and environmental engineering. So I didn't really like buildings and bridges, which is what a civil engineer does. And I thought water is water and the environment is cool. As Elizabeth said, like you can work on reducing like the impact on the environment, impact people's health, help people. So I ended up pursuing environmental engineering. But my love for math was still very strong. I also didn't really like it. I like the part where I help people's health. So I ended up basically trying to take classes in my university related to healthcare. And I found a job, like an internship doing compliance engineering in a biotechnology company, which is like a healthcare company. So I tried to find a way to bridge environment with healthcare. And basically, fast forward a few years, I kept trying to pivot away from environmental engineering until I landed in healthcare. And now my job is to basically develop software applications for within the healthcare industry. So basically apps on your phone that helps improve people's health. And in my current job, it's about mental health. So for example, supporting people who are fighting depression using apps on their phone. So I guess there are many lessons for me, which is like, if you know kind of what you like, you don't really need to be influenced by the people around you. People give advice based on what they know. So maybe like your parents, they're like 40 years ahead of you. So civil engineering might have been the booming job for my dad, but it's not the booming job for my generation. And so it was basically ask people that are like younger. I like what Elizabeth said, like talk to people in the field. For me, I was very focused on university, that I didn't think about what goes after university. I was just focused, okay, I just need to finish. I need to get a degree. I need to. So basically understanding what is it, like what comes after university, what's the end goal isn't to get a degree. The end goal is to be happy, to do something you like, to do something that's sustainable financially and puts you in a good like mental health state basically. Yeah, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dina. So one thing I took away from that one was about the whole idea of how and when you let the people around you influence you, and when do you make decisions that perhaps are a bit different from those that are in your immediate circle, and how do you explore all of that? So thank you all so much. So many different stories. I was making notes that, we have people that are currently involved in real estate, environmental engineering, healthcare, the creative industries, business, marketing. So a real range of different backgrounds. And I'm sure everybody that's listening along with us are probably kind of picking up on particular bits from everything that everyone has spoken about. But to get us kicked off as far as getting us started, we already have a couple of questions, and then I'll go back and look at the chat some more. They're kind of related in some respects. So from Chloe, there was a question about how do you know what you want to do in the future? So how do you make that decision? And then as a follow-on, Brianna has asked, if you do know what you want, then how do you work up to that? So there's the first one about how do you just start making choices. And the second one, which is once you kind of targeted in on something, then what are some of the steps that you might take? So I'm going to try and make sure everybody's up on my screen here so I can see everyone. And if you want to, from our mentors, if you'd like to just put your hand up, if you'd like to comment on either of those questions, then we'll get the discussion going. We've got about 10 minutes, so we've got some time here. So who would like to start? Amy, thanks. Let's start with Amy.
Sure. I would really encourage you to be curious about the things that you just enjoy, the things that make you smile and that you really find interest in. So in any subject area at all. And because once you kind of are interested in something quite easily, you're naturally going to end up being like amazing at it as you progress in that area. What you should also try and do is find people who might be working in those sorts of areas already and try and have conversations with them. So for example, that might be via your parents or friends of theirs or other adults that can help you to connect the dots to people that are doing some kind of work in those areas, and just have a chat with them, ask them lots of questions and get them to really try and explain, you know, what it takes to work in that kind of space and how the steps that they took to get there, so that you can start to figure out whether that's something you might want to do, or perhaps maybe there's another way of approaching it too. I would also say that it's not necessarily that you will know what you want straight away, and that's okay. You've got a whole lifetime to figure that out and also to change that, because you know, even from the time that I was born, technology changed so much. You know, YouTube wasn't always around. It only came about in the 90s. So, you know, things will move along so much that you'll find new opportunities will open to you. But what can be consistent is a love that you already have, something that you're really just very passionate about, and you'll find new ways of expressing that passion, and also being able to make a really great career out of it.
Thanks so much, Amy. I'm happy to take maybe one other comment on that, and we can move on to another question after that. So Dina, on this one.
Yeah, and another way is kind of also just reading online, watching YouTube videos. Now with like the internet age, there's so much information out there. It's like, what does a doctor's day look like? What does a lawyer's day look like? And you kind of have more of an idea of what a job title means. So maybe using like YouTube or online forums to ask people about it and like be curious, as Amy said. And also the potential of like shadowing. I know with Corona it's not possible, but later on, like shadowing, getting apprenticeships and just interns, starting earlier more and more. But just it's kind of like a trial and error, and if you don't like it, you can pivot until you start finding something you're good at and you enjoy.
Thank you so much, Dina. Here's one of my favorite questions, and it's, what advice would you give your 13 or 14-year-old self? So when you look back, try and imagine what you would like to be able to have known then. And I'm interested in comments from any of our speakers. Amy, get us started again. Thank you.
I would say that just don't be too hard on yourself, because there are lots of messages that we receive from the media and even at home sometimes, and lots of expectations that we're to meet, and sometimes that can be stressful. Actually, you know, you might feel that you have to measure up to a particular person or an ideal or an image, and so just try not to be too hard on yourself, and try to you know, have good people around you that you can have great conversations with, especially if you need to manage any stress. You know, for me, when I was younger, writing was kind of a way for me to manage stress levels, for example. So, you know, find a way to just not be too hard on yourself. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Amy. Elizabeth.
Yeah, just like to add on what Amy said about not being too hard on yourself. I've, you know, throughout my career, through studies and everything, there's been times that I've not wanted to be there and wanted to be on a holiday or not be doing the boring administrative task, because these things come along your way. So the way I would say to someone at 13 or 14 is keep the bigger picture in mind. At the time, you may be studying for that exam, or you might have to prepare for that interview, and it's just, you don't want to be there. But long term, all these little things do add up and, you know, create that person you are, and will help you. At some point, it will help you where you want to go with your career and life. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Any other thoughts on advice to your 13 or 14-year-old self? Maureen?
Yeah, I would say definitely try. Um, you have more to lose of not trying than trying, definitely. Um, and if you'll have a lot of obstacles in life, that's everybody's case. And a lot of people telling you, no, you're not going to succeed. If I had listened to everybody that told me not to go for a master degree with children, with a family, not to go to study uh, in Los Angeles, because to be honest, my father was always telling me that I was really stupid and that I would never make it. So when I told him I'm leaving, I'm going to study in Los Angeles, it was like, why would you do that? You're not smart enough. And if I had listened to him, my career would have not been the same, definitely. And above all, I mean, my happiness wouldn't have been. So, I mean, your parents are very good advisors. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents at all. That's absolutely not what I want to say. But you'll have a lot of people telling you not to do things. And sometimes you're not going to trust in yourself. And I know that my way was sometimes to just stop thinking about it and just go for it. And I'll see what happens. And I think you always need to, yeah, trying is definitely is the best choice in any case, as long as you're being safe, depending what you're doing, but definitely try.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Now I've had the message that we're going back in less than a minute. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of our mentors and thank you for listening. Thank you for the questions in the chat box. Thanks also to Shirley, my colleague, who's been making sure that everybody's highlighted and watching the chat and making sure that we're recording this conversation. So thank you as well, Shirley, for being here with us in the room today. And there's some just words coming through. Thank you to all our speakers, you know, real virtual round of applause to you all. Very inspiring to hear from you. And I think some great takeaways for everybody who's in the room today. So thank you very much. We're going to be heading back in 8 seconds now. So I'll stop talking so I don't get cut off mid-sentence. Just thank you all.